after 3 with Sheena speaks. She drops 3 and you make moves. You don't have nothing to prove.
Let it kick and if it hits, let it sit. If it clicks, let it hit, let it sit.
Are we recording now? Yes, we are. What's up, everybody? Microphone check 1, 2. What you gonna do after 3? It's your girl, Sheena Speaks. Your friend, your coach, your wing girl. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And just, if you don't even know why I say that, let me just, for those of you who don't know, I am in the business of giving 3 tips, 3 ways, 3 tools, 3 techniques, 3 questions, anything that's going to help us learn and grow as individuals, leaders, teams, whatever that is. And the reason why I'm stuck on after 3 is because a lot of times when I present or facilitate or do anything, people come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, that was great. I loved it. We had a good time. I learned a lot." And I'm a lifelong learner, so I want you to learn. But what I'm mostly really looking at is, what do you do after that? What do you do after you get these 3 tips and these 3 techniques and these 3 ways? What you gonna do after 3? Because it doesn't matter if you don't do anything with it. You're not gonna learn. You're not going to really grow. So I am always in a business of helping people get the knowledge and then do something with it. That's why I always ask, what you gonna do after 3? So welcome back to the second part of the offense episode. I think I posted or I recorded episode a couple of weeks ago. And right after that episode, it's called Offense, Taking It Personal. And the reason why I am calling it Taking It Personal is because when you are offended, you took it personal. And a lot of times people say, don't take it personal, or it's not personal, it's business. But when offense comes into play, it's personal. So yeah, take it personal. But the way I'm looking at taking it personal is, don't just take it personal to be mad and have a reason to clap back at somebody or come at somebody. I'm saying take it personal by looking inward to, is any of that true? Like, why am I mad? Like, why am I really mad right now? So after the first episode, I went over to my socials and just asked a question. And the question was, are you mad because they're wrong, or are you mad because they're right? And some of the responses were interesting. I got one person who said 50-50. Now with the 50-50, I get that, because it really does depend. Sometimes it's because they way out of pocket, and sometimes they hit a truth and we ain't like the truth, but we get mad at them. And sometimes with me, I'm mad because you think you right and you all the way wrong. So there's many reasons why sometimes we get triggered when offense takes place. So my challenge to the person who said 50-50 is to just really watch yourself, right? Because when I started watching myself, I found out first how often I was getting offended. And then I would start to go deeper on why I was offended. But when I was looking at, like, man, you offended all the time, what's up with you? Then, okay, now I'm looking at something else. It may not be them. It could totally be me. Maybe I'm extra sensitive. Maybe I'm vulnerable. Whatever it is, why am I getting offended so much? Because if you're walking around here getting offended at everything, you got to check yourself. You just got to check yourself. Then I had another person that said, oh, this is something I got to think about, or the next time I get upset or offended, I'm going to find out, is it because they were wrong or they were right? And it was the point of the question, because the question, you really can't answer it until you get offended. So that's my challenge to everyone. The next time you get offended, ask yourself, am I mad or offended because they are wrong? Or am I mad and offended because they are right? So in the first episode, we talked about how often we get offended and what are some of the reasons we might get offended. And some of the reasons could be that you just not ready to hear the truth. It could be the way somebody said something. It could be that you are vulnerable in that moment. It could be that it's a truth that you haven't realized yet or ready to accept. But at the end of the day, when you are offended, no matter how it came to you, you got to deal with that thing. That's the only way you're going to grow. So today, in this episode, we're just going to talk a little bit about what to do with that offense. Because like I just told you, this is all about what you going to do after 3. So the first thing that I would like to offer is take an audit of yourself, right? That whole, are you mad because they're wrong or right? That's one way to do it. But then go a little bit deeper. If they're right, then you have work to do, right? And at the end of the day, right, sometimes you might want to hold somebody accountable for how they said something to you, and that's fine, but don't deflect, because at the end of the day, it's still your stuff that you have to deal with. So anytime some of us get offended or we feel like, shots will fire, we ready to fire back. But one of the things that I've learned to do is just slow it down a little bit, take a little bit of a pause, and just think, why am I at this place right now? Because at the end of the day, you can't be offended by something that you've already owned. And I know I bring up weight a lot because it's I don't know, it's a universal topic. But if you gained weight, and somebody says to you, oh my gosh, you gained weight. Yeah, thanks for telling me, I know. What you been doing? Probably eating too much and not moving enough. Now that might be sarcastic, but at the end of the day, why are you mad? You're mad because they said it out loud. So why are you mad they said it out loud? Because maybe you're embarrassed, right? So at the end of the day, it's your stuff. If you don't want to be embarrassed or some people to make, references about your weight out front, then do something about that, right? But at the end of the day, what are you really mad at? Work on it. If you're happy with it, be happy with it. And if you're happy with it, you won't be offended, right? So at the end of the day, you cannot be offended by something that you've already owned. Now, last week, it's so interesting that we're talking about offense because just last week, I had a very hard thing that I had to face myself on. And when I faced my truth, the truth was a major insecurity that I have. Now, the good news is I know what the root is, so now I can get at it. But it was something that I believe I lived with, but kind of let it hang out in the background, right? But what I love about what I found is it kind of happened in a conversation with my sister. We were having like a very real conversation about this particular thing. And in the moment, she had asked a question. And it's like, no, it's not that. It's this. And right in that moment, I'm like, that's what it is. Major insecurity. So I'm so happy that happened because it's a big one and it's one that I have to deal with. And now my energy doesn't have to be put on the offense that got me to that point, right? And it's really about, why are you offended about this particular situation? It let me, we followed the breadcrumbs and it got me to this major insecurity that I got to deal with. I love when stuff like that. It don't feel good, but it is good, right? But that's what I'm talking about. And let me tell you something. You got a lot of people around here that talk about how hard they are. I come for anybody that come for me or whatever, and they checking people all day long. But you ain't a real G unless you can check yourself. You ain't a real G until you can face your own ugly. You got your good, your bad, and your ugly. How you do with your ugly? How do you do with your truths? That's a G to me. When you can look at yourself and be like, ooh, That's nasty. Get that up out of here. So that happened. So, going back to my first point is audit yourself. The offense is just the kickstart, right? And when it happens, if you get offended, then follow the trail. And like I said, if they're right, then you deal with your stuff. You fix it. Now, the second piece that I want to share with you is, what if they're wrong? What tends to happen when, somebody says something to us, we get offended and they're wrong? We start defending ourselves. We start arguing. We start explaining. I don't want you to do that anymore. The next time somebody offends you and they're wrong, you can do one or two things or both. You can respond and reject, or you could just reject. And you don't always have to reject outwardly. I can't tell you how many times people say stuff to me and I'm like, I don't receive that. Or they'll say something, I'm like, no, that's not accurate. And I keep it moving. I don't have to keep going back and forth with you about what I know about me and where I'm coming from, because I personally believe that I am misunderstood a lot. I get a lot of people that think they know what I'm saying, or think what they know what I'm getting ready to do, or who I am, or the past of how I used to be. But at the end of the day, I know who I am. So I don't have to defend now. I don't have to argue with you, but I change. I don't have to do that because I know I did. Again, you can't get offended in something that you already own. So at the end of the day, you do not have to argue. You do not have to respond. You do not have to, you don't have to explain, but you reject it because it's just not your truth. So respond and reject, or reject, and that's it when they're wrong. The third thing I want you to do is to guard your growth. Sometimes people are still caught up on who they think you are or who you used to be. And there's nothing that you can even say to change their mind. But that's their problem if they still want to deal with or interact with the old version of you. If you've grown in a certain space, I want you to stay in that space. And you don't want to keep putting your energy on that, because that's not who you are anymore. So keep working on your stuff. Guard your growth. Keep your eyes on your own paper, because as a people, we could be very judgmental. If somebody tells you they're not judgmental, they're lying, and you could judge them for that. But at the end of the day, it's about you and being the better you, and you owning your truth and getting to your truth and getting to just, and it sounds corny, but it's true, the best version of yourself. So when I think about the major insecurity that was uncovered for me last week, it's really going to take some time for me to do that. But at the end of it, I'm going to be better. I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to be healed. All the good stuff that we look for in life. So when it comes to offense, when you feel that sting, it's not always an attack. Look at it as an invitation. Is this something that I need to work on? Because everybody not coming for you, right? Sometimes you come for you, so you deal with you. All right? So if it hit, let it sit. It's your girl, Sheena Speaks, and this is the conversation I wanted to have with you. Oh, one of the things I want to tell you about. So I have tons of digital tools on Gumroad. If you go to my website, trifecta3.com, 3 the number, not the word. And if you scroll down, you'll see the digital store where it says Gumroad. I want you to go to that button and I want you to go check out the store, because I have tons of tools out there. But when we think about offense and just self-developing and being a better version of ourselves, I'm a very big fan of, you can have a coach and you can talk to people and have advisors, all that good stuff. You should, but you also got to know how to coach yourself. You also got to know how to ask yourself some hard questions. You also got to know how to take your stuff through a process where you're productive and not destructive. You know, you're constructive, not destructive. And I have some tools on there. Some are free, some of them you got to pay for. But at the end of the day, it might be something on there that you like. Now, the other thing I wanted to tell you is I am a real coach. I am a certified coach. So if you ever need a coach, you ever want to talk to me one-on-one about anything that you feel I can assist you with, reach out, because this is what I'm here for. I wake up to do this. If you can't tell by now, I wake up to do this. I am your cheerleader. I'm your wing girl. I'm in the passenger seat. I love to be able to support people who just trying to be better within themselves, or better as a leader, or better with teams, anything of that nature. But at the end of the day, I am here for you. And I really enjoyed the offense episode, because I think it's something that we deal with all the time, and I don't want you walking around here being hurt. You know, I want you to grow. I want you to love life and do all the things that you want to do. All right, it's your girl Sheena Speaks, and follow us on at Trifecta Strategies on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Did I say all of them? I think I said all of them. And I already gave you the website, trifecta3.com. It's your girl. I'm out. Happy spring. Talk to you later. Bye.
And if it hits, let it sit. If it clicks, let it hit, let it sit.